What is intuition? Let's start at the very beginning. What is intuition? Put in its simplest terms, intuition is a knowing. But it's a different kind of knowing than the pure physical or mental academic knowledge we tend to focus on in the Western world. Intuition also draws upon the creative side of the mind, that part of the mind that is connected to all of creation. This is also known as the feminine or being side of our intellect. Unlike the more linear, logical part of the mind, intuition sees the wholeness of a situation or moment in time rather than one side or analytical perspective of it. Intuition is a knowing and wisdom that flows through us. It is an inner voice that, in order to hear it, we must quiet the mind. In my experience, one of the biggest hurdles to accessing our intuition is believing that it exists and giving credence to those little nudges, signs, and insights that seem to come without logical explanation. Once we accept intuition as fact and begin to use it as a compass to guide us through life, its existence and its power are inescapable. And we gain astounding facts to prove its worth. Intuition comes in many forms. It can roar in like a tornado, like when you have a strong and sudden feeling that you shouldn't follow through with plans for no apparent reason, only to find out that you avoided a negative or dangerous situation, or arrive as a slight whisper, like when a friend you've lost contact with pops into your head, then calls later that same day. These can be classified as the loud or quiet knocks. Depending upon how we look at the world, we may believe that intuition comes from an outside source that is larger than us, that it is a sort of universal knowing or guidance system. Or we may believe that it comes from within us, from a quiet, center space that remains strong, stable, and untouched even in the midst of chaos of our daily lives. It can be both of these things. Another possible way to look at intuition is as the integration of what is within us and what is outside of us, that we are all connected in one and the same energy, a form of being within and without at once. Intuition merges tangible seeing, or the overly trained masculine or linear side of us, with subtle being, the under-recognized feminine or more circular side of us that is open to receiving the subtle information that exists within and emanates from everyone and everything around us in the present moment. Intuition can be visualized as the personification of a single entity of energy that comprises and includes everything and everyone. Or it could be visualized as a space or air between two trees. To connect with our intuition, it is wise to align ourselves with and listen to the collective, to nature, or as some may call it, the universe. Intuition can do much more than bring benefits to any of us, although it certainly does that. The journey to connecting with our intuition can reap just as many, if not more, rewards as the final destination of attunement. When we are in touch with our intuitive nature. We are flowing with and within the world and our own lives as they are, in their most natural and fruitful state. Intuition connects all beings, and it works for the good of us all when used with this intention. The more people on this earth who are aligned with intuition, the better off we can become. If we lived in a world where everyone wholly listened to, trusted, and bravely followed through with intuition, there would be absolutely no war or violence. We would be out of the fight or flight part of our mind that so dominates our actions today. If we paired an open intuition with an open heart, dishonesty and cheating will be replaced with honesty, bravery, and consciousness. We would be out of our overly used warrior or competitor part of the mind. The concept of lack or not being enough would have an opportunity to vanish. Acting in the interest of ourselves as individuals and in the interest of the collective can dovetail into the same notion when a trust is formed with our intuition, our deep inherent wisdom, understanding wholly that there is enough and what is lacking is what we are not bringing forth, could help unmute the part of the mind and life experience that suffers from feelings of loneliness and isolation. Our intuition allows us to tap into a higher form of intelligence and guidance that is always at work in the background where most of us keep it, doing its very best to steer us in the right or forward direction, in a direction that is the most connective and compassionate, that works in wholeness. Before we veer into the ethereal, though, it is important to understand that ultimately intuition is a grounding device. Listening to our intuition does not suggest that we throw all rational thought into the wind. Intuition is, at its core, very logical. It leads to good and fruitful decisions. Decisions that forward our life, enhance our well-being, and steer us toward the happiest and most fulfilled versions of ourselves. Only it does so by calling upon information that is not readily seen when we rely only on the analytical side of our mind. Essentially, intuition calls upon a collective body of information and provides us with a plan of action. Intuition is often referred to as a sixth sense. Think for a moment about how our other senses, sight, smell, sound, touch, and taste, guide us through information collection and decision making. Our eyesight and earshot let us know when our surroundings may be unsafe, providing us with the opportunity to choose a beneficial decision to move in a different direction. Our sense of smell allows us to recognize if something is pleasant and good for us, or off and unsafe to eat, guiding us to a decision that is most healthy. Our touch allows us to feel our way through a situation and to indulge in pleasure. Our taste helps us to nourish ourselves with what we need in the moment and to savor and enjoy healthy nourishment. Intuition works in much the same way as the 5 more tactical senses. It helps us maximize our enjoyment of life and keeps us safe, healthy, and out of danger. Intuition is like a large flashlight in a dark New York City alley at 3 a.m. It illuminates the dark corners and lets us know when something is or is not right. We just need to learn to trust intuition in the same way we trust the illumination that physical sources of light provide. They're all the same thing in different forms. Intuition is more than a sixth sense, though it also encompasses a seventh sense. If the sixth sense tells us that something is or is not right, for instance, if you have the feeling that your brother is in trouble and you should give him a call, the seventh sense tells us what is not right. The seventh sense then will tell you that your brother has a flat tire and needs your help. The difference between these two senses is specificity and accessible, distinct details. The more we work on attuning our sixth sense, the better we will become at tapping into our seventh sense. Moreover, it is a very holistic process. Intuition is not just a decision we make in our mind. It is also something we feel in our bones. Specifically, it's something that we simultaneously process through our mind, heart, lungs, joints, and gut. We'll discuss all of this in depth as we move through the pages of this book. But for now, remember that intuition has a lot to do with being in the moment, because it is in the moment that we receive all of this sensory information. One of the easiest, most accessible, and commonly recognized ways of being in the moment is through meditation and stillness, and we'll be practicing that as a tool for enhancing our intuition throughout the pages that follow as well. Before we move on to the nuts and bolts of intuition, there is one final concept that is crucial to understand. Intuition is never wrong. Stop and think about that for a moment. Even the most rational thinking can at times lead us astray. We can interpret intuition wrongly, but what intuition shows us is never wrong. Acting from an emotional space can often cloud our perception and judgment and misguide our actions. Neither of these two models of decision-making or taking action is foolproof. Intuition, on the other hand, will never lead us off course. How powerful is this? How much safety can we derive from this fact? We may not always decode or understand our intuition correctly, but intuition itself is always on point. It is the heart of all things harmonious and healthy. It is of the highest intelligence known to humankind. Together, we will go through a series of pragmatic steps that will arm us with the tools we need to ensure that we are able to best decode and understand the information that intuition provides us.